Welcome back to Take It and Run. Kelsey and I are so excited for our guest today. In fact, it's been on the schedule for well over a month, and I kept checking the calendar. When was I going to have Jeremy and Eileen Knight on the Take It and Run podcast? Very excited that I get to have them here today because they have things that they're going to teach you about online leads, about lead conversion, and they do it in some of the best fashion that I've ever seen, and they're so humble. In fact, Eileen's not going to tell you this, but she's really nervous because I'm going to make her share. I'm going to make her share some of her tips because when she gets a buyer on the phone, they just move with a sense of urgency and they don't take advantage and ghost her. They end up buying real estate, and that just makes everybody happy. So I'm pretty dang excited to invite them onto the show today.
Yep. Just to kind of set the tone, I think agents out there know that clients are moving slower right now. They ask more questions. They chat GPT. They hesitate. They ghost. And when they do reach out, they're paying attention to how you show up, not just to what you say. So in light of all that, we thought, like Kristi said, of no better guests to bring on the Take It and Run podcast today than Eileen and Jeremy Knight. They're realtors and self-proclaimed badass bosses out of Austin, Texas.
Wait, who proclaimed that? Who self-proclaimed that? Just for the record, I did not self-proclaim that.
Per Jeremy.
I said, what do you want to put as our title? And you're like, I don't know, badass bosses.
I guess I did. I guess I did proclaim that. My bad.
That's so funny. I'm like, did you forget that you filled out the survey?
I filled it out, but I asked him.
My bad. Yeah, okay, there we go.
So you guys have built a strong business as a husband and wife team. Can you give us just tell us how that started?
Well, it started one night at a meetup with friends. We were all doing like a Benihana style. Eileen was on the other side of the table. I was on the other, and sparks flew, and now we're here. So did you probably meant a little more specific in the business? I think
for real estate.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kelly doesn't know what a jokester you are. Yes.
Yeah.
Talk to us about being in business together. How long, like who became an agent first? Like when did it make sense for you both to get into the business together?
Yeah. So I started selling real estate first, and my what I was doing was just cold calling, like every single day, cold calling. At the time, Eileen was selling life insurance, so she was dealing with like online sales calls, and so people, like, she was literally sitting there just objection handling all day. And after about 4 months, I had so much business because I was cold calling every day, but I needed help. And Lee and I basically had a conversation that was, hey, quit your job, start selling real estate, and then we can do more. So a couple of years in, I started really focusing on video content. So YouTube, short form, long form content. And in 2019, I changed what we do for our YouTube channel, and kind of actually sat and looked at the metrics, looked at actually worked how to get business out of it. And from there, we grew rapidly. So it started with Eileen selling life insurance and me just telling her to quit her job. And what's great about the way we work, obviously yin and yang for a lot of people. I'm more of the show, and Eileen's the dough, right? So I spend a lot of time going out and being front facing, but I hate having to do phone calls and pre-approved buyers and all of that. I'd just get me in front of a seller, right? But Eileen is very methodical and can actually convert a lot of those leads that come through and then set the clients up for success. One of the things that I'm sure a lot of agents are seeing is clients falling out of contract right now. So what are the conversations we should be having up front? And Eileen does a really good job of having that conversation up front. So our fallout is really low. And our conversion's high when people call or reach out to us. So
you guys may have told me this at some point, but I forgot about your previous history of where you came from, Eileen, in the business. And now, as soon as he said that, I was like, this makes so much sense that she puts these plans together and the methodical nature of it. How did you, how was it for you making that transition, and how do you feel like that objection handling helped you when it came to Jeremy saying, hey, I want to do this YouTube thing, and we're gonna get a bunch of online leads? Did you have a plan for that, or was it some trial and error?
When he told me to pretty much, are you saying when he told me to pretty much quit and jump into real estate?
Yeah, where was it a no-brainer for you, like, oh sure, this gonna sound great?
Yes. Pretty much it was a no-brainer. I was calling about 150 people a day, having those conversations. That was my job, just calling people, talking to them about life insurance. It was moving from life insurance to real estate made me so happy. Having conversations and telling people, about life insurance and death was just not something that made me excited to do. So helping people get into their home, just I love it. My biggest thing is it's somebody's biggest purchase and helping them through the process. Really like that. So
How do you feel like those skills transferred over? So obviously the topic was more fun for sure, but what did you take from your previous work experience into now the home buying process that just made sense?
So from before, just being able to get on the phone, having that experience and bringing it over to real estate, it's the same thing. So still having to make those phone calls, but something that I actually enjoy talking to people about. I'm still going to get the same objections, actually, well, a little bit different objections, but still getting objections is just solving the problem. And really, that's what an objection is. Somebody's coming and they're wanting something, and basically, you just have to find out what their motivation is and get them to their goal. And that's basically what you need to do for the objection handling. So,
150 phone calls a day?
mhm.
That's crazy. I mean, most of the time we can't get agents to make 10 calls a day. And you're hitting the phones like that. So,
I'm
okay.
talking about
That
death.
right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine? You're gonna die, but your family, they are gonna get rich. So sign here.
Yeah. Okay.
It was
So,
not something that, yeah. So, talking real estate, again, people want to get into their home. They have objections as far as, oh, rates are too high, other types of objections. But if we can get you a lower rate, is that something that you want to get into now? Just handling those same objections, but and helping them into their home.
Mm-hmm.
you basically created a playbook for the online leads that you guys have created, right? So Jeremy goes out and makes the videos and finds the topics. I know Jeremy's covered that on a lot of podcasts and a lot of speaking, but Jeremy basically is the content creator, I would say. He goes out, finds the articles, shoots, and he loves it. It's a highlight of his day. But you're the one that's actually fielding a lot of the questions that are coming in from the buyers. What trends have you seen? Kelsey kind of alluded to the fact that we've seen that buyers are a little more cautious, maybe a little more, hesitant to be making a purchase. Have you seen a change in the questions that they're bringing to the table?
Um, yes, I would say more so now recently are the interest rates. Some people, they're starting to look on the website, but they want to wait. There's some kind of hesitation. And
Okay.
it's so those would be the two biggest ones as far as objections versus a few years ago when rates were
So
better.
so they're finding your guys' YouTube channel, and they're registering, right? And then you reach out and they say, "Oh, we just want to look at the website, but we're not ready to look." Or they have specific questions about rates in particular.
Right. And so my main thing is the first thing I want to do is find their motivation. Okay, great. Well, I'd love to help you. What, what prompted you to start looking at homes? And then my biggest thing is just be quiet. Don't say anything. Let them just listen. And they will start telling you everything. And let them tell you their motivation, why, and then just start asking more questions about their motivation. Oh, I'm wanting to downsize. Well, okay, great. Why are you wanting to downsize? Oh, my child's moving, all my kids are out of the house now. I now want to move closer to maybe their college. We don't need as much. So write all that down. Make sure you remember that. So when you talk to them next time, you can ask like, oh, how's your son doing? Did he get into that college? Things like that. But number one thing is to find their motivation.
I think that the thing that Eileen does really well is most of us as agents, and I have this same problem too. When you get a lead on the phone, it's like, oh, I'm excited. I gotta set the hook, right? And then so we get excited to start selling. Like, oh, well, I've worked in this neighborhood. I've worked there, and we start talking about ourselves, and that doesn't actually build trust. Like, so I'm on YouTube doing long form content. You build a lot more trust with your audience. So when they call you, they're a little more set to work with you, right? But when they're calling as a lead, it's really important to not oversell yourself and listen, because you got to build trust on that call. And the way to build trust is like Eileen said, getting all of the information, continuing, repeat back what they said, and then ask the next question. So when you're repeating it back, they understand you're hearing them. We've had agents, and again, my big problem is like I get all excited, I'm like a puppy dog, right? And I'll blow it because I want to sell them everything. And we've had agents on our team that just want to give them all the information. Whereas the reason why Eileen's so much more successful with conversion on both phone calls and just everything in general is that she just keeps asking more questions until she's got a full picture of what they're looking at. And then it's like, oh, well, you said you were looking for a home in this area, If I found you that right now in that price range, and that way you don't have to compete in 4 months when everything's going to be busier, would that be worth it for you? Okay, well, and then going on to the next question. So just to tie that up in a really long bow.
I like it.
Ask a lot of open-ended questions.
Yeah.
You shared in your survey about a lead that hung up on you guys, and then you called them back. I was hoping that you would share that experience, because a lot of people, one, are afraid of rejection, and I would say getting hung up on it, doesn't always feel good. But could you share with us this experience and what you learned from it and how you applied those skills of asking questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lead had come through. Somebody was on, so basically somebody's on the website, they put their information in and it came through. Gave them a call, like, hey, I'm Eileen with the night group. Click. So okay,
Damn.
not sure if we got disconnected, but called back again. Like, hey, this is Eileen with, not sure if we got disconnected. Just wanted to reach out to see how we can help you with your home search. And then he was kind of silent, like, oh, well, maybe you saw us on YouTube. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm just not ready at the moment. Just start asking, digging a little deeper. Like, oh, what do you mean you're not ready? We're searching on our website. How can we help you? And then he was giving me just objection after objection, handled the objections. And next thing, he's under contract within a month.
Oh my gosh. So when you called, he didn't make the connection that, he obviously watched the video and then was driven to the website, which then created a lead. But when you called, he hadn't made the connection that, oh, this is a real estate agent calling me because I just watched this video.
Correct. And so I don't know if he thought I was a telemarketer or he just I just was very nice and very like, oh, you reached out. I'm just trying to help you. And I think that when you let them know you're just trying to help, I think it puts down the guards. And then they'll start slowly giving some information. He still was a little hesitant because he threw a few more objections at me, but you just overcome those objections. You find the motivation and keep going.
Yeah.
And just
You're
keep
so
asking.
you're so nice, Eileen. Like, if anybody who like, so was there a part of you that was like, your feelings were hurt and you were not going to call back? Like, or was it just like, that is it? And you were going to call that guy and he was going to respond to you? Like, what went through your head when it was click?
It's, yeah, you get the click. You're like, oh, like it's one of those you really don't want to go through it. It's frustrating. But you just have to psych just, okay, maybe it was an accident. We don't know. Just keep going. And then you just kind of set the tone like, oh, hey, maybe it wasn't, if it was an accident, you don't want to, it's a lead. They put their information and they still need help. So still try and help them.
That's
Yeah,
humility
I
right
gotta
there.
be honest. Yeah, she's super humble. I gotta be honest. I don't know that I would have been like, oh, that person just hung up on me. I'm gonna call them back. Maybe if I was like like my kids didn't do their chores and I'm like super already angry for the day, I would be like, oh no, you didn't just hang up on me. But I love how you're just like, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe we got disconnected. Maybe they were digging out their driveway of ice and you just like picked up the phone. Like, where does that resiliency from making phone calls come from? Because Jeremy said he doesn't like to make phone calls.
It's, I think, just making so many phone calls, and it it was tough for me to make my first phone call, and it's one of those, you just have to keep going. Consistency, and the more you do it, the more it just becomes immune. Things like that, you just get immune to it, and you just have to keep going. I want to say the first few times, that probably the first week that I was making phone calls, it was very difficult and tough, and I probably the same reaction that you had, like, what, they hung up on me? Like, oh no. But as you're just doing it more and more, you keep going.
I'm curious, like, I know you've trained several agents on this. We talked about this on your guys' agent tactics show, but what would you recommend for an agent that feels like they don't have good conversion with online leads in general, let alone YouTube? What should they be reading? What should they be watching? What classes should they attend?
I like the Phil Jones stuff that is out. I think knowing what to say is incredibly helpful. I mean, the reality is the best way to have to start making conversations is script practicing or practicing with a partner. I think that's one of the things that we do a lot is or did a lot was script practice. I am not. I mean, look, I was very successful calling expires withdrawals. One of my favorite ones. The story was he was like, oh, you're the 75th realtor to call. I'm like, oh, awesome. I'm so glad I called. 75 is my favorite number. Hey, so let me ask you about the home, right? And that guy, like, he was like, what? Like, oh, you know what? Shut up. Just come over. And I literally sold that house. They've been good friends. They've sent us, like, he always tells his friends, oh, 75 or whatever number I said, but I think, like, too, like, you have to have motivation to want to sell or to actually want to have business, and you got to have goals in order to do those things. So if you're, not making any money and you're looking at making a phone call that could make money versus just sitting and, getting worried about making the phone call, well, getting worried about making the phone call isn't going to put money in your bank account. So you better at least do something. I wish more agents were just so dedicated to making calls and putting in the effort. A lot of us think, do a video on social media, people will call me. The challenge is when people call you, you still got to pre-qualify, you still got to sell that lead. You still have to have that conversation. So if you just want to get in front of a camera and make videos, you still got to do the other half of that coin or find somebody that can do the other half of that coin.
Yeah. Eileen's taken, though, in case you're listening. She's not for hire.
Yeah. Yeah. I did that
So
Beyonce song. I took you like a dandy kind.
exactly, from
Yeah,
Benihana to Beyonce.
yeah.
Um, so here's here's one thing that I hope is coming through, is that and she is not, she is very humble, Eileen is very humble, but you're just basically doing some basic things consistently. It sounds like, so you tell me if I'm missing something, it sounds like you have an open mind and you're asking questions, but you also have a path in mind. So one thing that Eileen would always say is, she's like, I'm always shocked that when we're on a coaching call, she'll be like, I'm just shocked how many agents don't have a plan. They show people homes before they have a plan. So you're asking questions. What's your plan? Right? Like, do you have a checklist that you follow? Or, I mean, I know you've been doing this for a while, so it's probably ingrained, that script is ingrained in you, but where should agents start?
You're right. A lot of this it's all a process. And so putting the system and the process in place. So it first started with script practicing. So
I think we use like Tom Ferry scripts. We've used old Keller Williams scripts. I mean,
That was
no,
before AI, right? Before you'd have
yeah,
to actually find a human to practice on.
yeah. I mean, look, yeah, exactly. Now you have ChatGPT to, but I mean, I've done the ChatGPT write me scripts things, and they're not that great. But I mean, look, there's so many ways that there's so many different scripts out there too. You just have to search scripts and work. Go to YouTube, find people that have a script or have shot video they've uploaded where they're doing the objection handling. I think the biggest part too is just having the objection handlers down.
both.
See, and I
So
was
no,
gonna, oh, go ahead, Eileen.
have that down before you're making the phone calls. So have that. So you've said that script at least 100 times. So that way, when you're actually saying that script, it sounds so natural that people don't know that it's a script. And they're going to dodge you off that script. You have to know to get them back on your script. So the person asking the questions controls the flow. So make sure after you're listening and repeating back, you're bringing them back in and asking the right questions on how you want it to go and flow.
Yeah, Sharon Shrivatsa's got a good if this then that, right? So you ask a question, if it's one of these two ways, is the response, here's the two ways to go, right? So if this then that is probably a really good one too.
I think the word that you've used, and I wrote it down in my notes, the word that I've heard you use is you set expectations. And I think that's why so few of your deals fall out. And when, and you get commitment, right? Because this is one of the things that I noticed early on with you guys, is that you weren't having a lot of people waste your time and ghost you because you identified the questions to ask up front. I feel like a lot of agents um, overcomplicate this process, or they avoid it altogether. Is that something that you've seen with agents, where they just avoid some of these expectations, like getting pre-approved and only working with one agent or something like that?
Absolutely. So I think you learn from experience and knowing when people ask you a ton of questions, you have to give them little tidbits, but you have to put them back into the right questions. Part of my process is setting an appointment. So I get enough information, give them enough information of value, like little, like, oh, I can help you. I just helped a client get a great interest rate. When we meet, we can go over that in more detail. So you give them little tidbits about when we meet, and just keep repeating that. So that way, when you do ask for the appointment, they're more likely to set the appointment. And so you get enough information, and then part of my process is setting an appointment. That way, when we're at the appointment, we're talking about, and even before we meet, we're making sure that they're pre-approved, and like you had mentioned, setting the expectation. So part of the questions is making sure they're pre-approved and making sure they're not going to be a tire kicker. Some
I think that's where a lot of agents go wrong, is that they're not setting the correct expectations, and that is either why they're falling out of contract, right? Or they're wasting the agent's time, and then the agent gets burnt out. I am curious, how long do you guys how long do some of these people take to transact? You mentioned the one person earlier, that hung up on you, but then you got him back on. Here's why I'm asking. I've found that a lot of agents who are generating leads online from the content that you guys have and similar, other forms of content, is that sometimes these people are top of the funnel and they really are asking questions. And it's not that they want to waste your time, but they're early on in the process. Do you find that by the time they hit the website and you call them that they're ready to go, or do you have to follow up and nurture them for when they are booking a trip to Austin, if they're relocating or if they're going to sell and buy? How long does that process usually take for you guys?
So for my biggest thing is when I have somebody, the lead on the phone, you get as much information, build the rapport. The biggest thing, get their motivation. Why are they moving? And then from there, set the appointment. So I always let people know, because one of the objections I get, oh, we're a year out, we're 2 years out. I let them know, okay, great. Well, I like to meet with you ahead of time to make sure we get ducks in a row. So when we meet, I'd rather get in front of them and put a plan in place. So maybe they have to sell their house wherever they're at and before they have to buy. Well, there's things that I need to know ahead of time. Well, do you need the funds in order to buy your home? What if we get you a brand new home and it takes 1.5 years to build? So there's things where you can get them into a home a lot sooner and under contract a lot sooner. So my main thing, get in front of them, set the appointment, and get in front of them as soon as you can.
One thing, so to answer that question too, is I would say generally a lot of the people that we have come through say, I'd say a good mix are, I need to buy right now. So there are people that from conversation to transaction, you're talking 2-3 weeks maybe, right? But the ones that generally say they're longer, the more ability you have to set that meeting up front early, go through the process, like Eileen said. The reality is they may transact, even if they have stuff going on, they may end up transacting sooner because now they've got the itch, right? They've actually had a full conversation, what the process is. Depending on their motivation, they're already starting to do some of the actions to buy a house or to sell a house, whatever it is. But you've had that conversation, you set that appointment so far early that it actually starts rolling the ball. There's a lot of people who say, oh, I'm 5 months out and I don't have under contract 3 weeks later. So
Yeah, she definitely should run a master class.
So let's talk about YouTube for a second. You kind of you just mentioned that you do long-term or long-form video and stuff like that. But Jeremy, can you share with the audience how your YouTube channel started? What's made you stick with it? And how did you know it was working?
I didn't know what was working for a while. I was just creating content. I wasn't super consistent. I didn't have an idea of what my audience was looking for. So I've done a few things to know what my audience is looking for now. I usually put out surveys asking a question. If nobody's responding to it, then nobody cares about it. If people get really engaged in it and give a lot of feedback, now I've got a lot of feedback for the video. So I started kind of going that way. I looked at basically 4 pillars of content that I could make. And, so who are the clients I'm going after? A lot of them moving here are looking for new construction homes. Okay. So that's going to be one of the topic. A lot of people moving here want to, don't know which part of town to go to. Okay. So that's going to be a topic. Okay. The overall market conditions, what's happening in the market. People want to know that. And then what's driving people to move to Austin. So talking about different companies that are moving here, different things. So I built 4 pillars based on what people were mostly looking for when they were looking at, moving to Austin specifically. So and then it's kind of changed over time, but those are the four things. So I'd say if anybody that's trying to figure out what they're doing, number one, figure out how you're going to be super consistent with it, because you can put 5 videos out, not get anything. And then, you stop doing it. The reality is once you're 4 or 5 months in, now consumers actually have a book, many people love to go on to Netflix, and they just started Stranger Things now when it's in the last season, because they have 5 seasons to watch now, right? Or 6 seasons. But it's the same thing for YouTube. One video isn't enough proof yet for somebody. It's, 5 or 6 videos before somebody starts to actually trust you and listen to you too. Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of why I stuck with YouTube, is because when you make long form content, people trust you, they listen to you. There's so many times people will call Eileen and be like, we already know where we want to be. We want to know what's going on here. We just need to know which is going to be the best house for us. Let's set the appointment and we're good to go. And so you've actually already taken a lot of the work out of it when you can actually just give people a lot more information up front. So that's why I like the long form content. But, we've been super successful with the Instagram content and the short content. It just depends on what fits you.
When you said survey, are you talking about like story surveys or something?
Yeah, so I'll just put like a statement out, like, did you know the 4 counties people are moving to, or the 4 areas in Austin people are moving to, are this? They're not even looking at these. And so just putting out something like that, and then see people actually even respond to that, right? New construction, what was the worst part of your new construction, and see, what people respond to. Because then too, again, you have something that if that is a topic that people really resonate with, okay, I know that's going to be a good video for me. And then you create the video, but you can say, I asked this question and here's how, Stephanie R, responded.
Are you mainly relying on surveying your followers to figure out what kind of content you want to do? Or are you doing any kind of like research throughout your week? What's your strategy look like to stay consistent, especially in the beginning when
response? Yeah, no. So when you come up with like the 4 pillars that fit your content, so now I know, okay, the first week of the month, I'm always going to talk about new construction. The second week of the month, I'm always going to talk about different suburbs and places to live in Austin. The third one, I'm going to talk about the market updates. And then the fourth one, I'm going to talk about businesses and companies moving here. So I already know what my next week's video is going to be, but that's where I'll let me pick a subset of this topic and put, or hey, realtor.com said the market is this. Do you agree? And see what a bunch of realtors respond with too, right? Or just people in general. So I usually put that on Facebook. I'll put it on, put it on Instagram and the stories too. So I'm always asking different questions and and that way too, people are engaging, right, with your other social media. So you just use your other social medias, your stories, to get people to actually give you what they want to hear or what's on their mind.
Do you, I know that you've played around with doing more than 1 video a week. From what you just said with your buckets, are you, is your suggestion that they do 1 a week and stay within those? Or do you ever, if you're going to be looking at those communities when you get together with Bryce, do you knock out 2 or 3 videos and not have to shoot for a couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, we try to batch content when we can. Right. So that's something we always try to do. If there's 2 neighborhoods next to each other, we'll shoot 1 video there, shoot another video, and then if I have to do any, like old voiceover saying, hey, this was what we talked about in the video last week, but since we've made this video, this new information came out, right? So you can always add that into the other video later, like a month later. So you can do stuff like that.
This just occurred to me, and I've never asked Eileen this. Do you watch his videos? Like, do you need to know some of the stuff that he's saying? Like, did someone ever say, well, Jeremy said da 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 da, and you're like, what is that about?
She knows that she's going to end up she's going to end up rolling her eyes if she watches my content, so she doesn't even watch it. She's like, oh, I can't believe you said that.
I watch some, but I don't watch all.
I love it. She's converting all the leads and she's not even watching. Awesome.
To be fair, some of the videos I tell him about my experiences and like the communities that I'm going to. And so he'll base the video off of that. So
Because see, I would think that you've got the boots on the ground, like the questions that people are asking you when you've got them on the phone and some of the concerns that they have. So do you ever feed that back to him? I mean, you mentioned that you share the communities and what your experiences are, but are you ever like, hey, I need you to do a video on this because I've had to answer this 16 times this week?
Oh yeah, there's times that I get something and I let them know, like, hey, this just happened. You should do a video on it, or this keeps happening over and over again.
Yeah, but then I'm like, hey, did you watch my market update video about what's happening in the market and what was going on with rates? Oh, I had no idea rates went down a quarter point yesterday. Okay, well, thanks for watching the videos that I work hard to make.
I'm too busy talking to people.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's okay. It's, in all fairness, Merrill doesn't watch any of my videos either. And every once in a while, he'll be like, "Did you know?" And I was like, "I literally just did a video on that last week." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you did? Oh, wow."
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, Merrill is Eileen, and
Yeah.
I'm more on Jeremy's. What did you say, that you're just like a golden retriever? Like,
Yeah, I'm just, yeah. Oh, there's another puppy. Oh, hi. Another dog.
so okay, well let's wrap this up. Kelsey, what's our take it and run question for them? Oh,
Oof.
so here it is. What's one thing that you feel that our audience should take and run with that you shared? And I want one for each of you. So I want Eileen from the lead conversion. What if there was only one thing that an agent who wants to be better at converting leads when making phone calls, what could they do? And then Jeremy, you tackle it from consistency in YouTube.
So on a consistency from YouTube standpoint, the thing is, you have to actually do the math on how much you're losing when you don't do content, right? Because if you're not putting out a video, are you not working at all anymore? So do the math on how much it's going to cost you not to do a video, not the cost to do the video, but how much it's going to cost you not to do the video. That's one way to stay super consistent, because if you go, okay, for every video, I can say I'm getting $100,000, right, in return on that one video, but I only do one video, that's only 100,000 in return. If I do 4, that's 400,000 in return, right, on average, and commission. So figure out the math of what it's going to take for you not to do a video, right? And then move from there, because then you'll be super consistent. Trust me.
I like that. A little bit of pain. So he's like, make the pain, obvious. So Eileen, what would you tell an agent that the one thing, if they just did this one thing, they would convert better when they're making their phone calls?
The one thing, I guess there's kind of two. One, listen. Make sure you're listening to. I think some people just talk way too much. If you would just actually listen to what that person is wanting, and so you can help them solve their problem. So listen, and then find their motivation. Why are they? It's not about buying and selling a house. It's helping them get to somewhere else, and find that motivation so you can help them.
That. I guess we'll allow you to have two things. I mean, I'm just kidding. You guys are awesome. Okay, should we take them through rapid fire?
Okay, so whoever wants to answer, just elbow each other. I don't know what you want to do over there, but
I'll get my elbow together.
What do you focus on when a client feels unsure or hesitant?
Okay, that's your elbow. So when they're hesitant, you go back to their motivation. And that's why it's so important to get their motivation, because if there's an issue or something's going on, if you go back to their motivation, then that helps.
Absolutely.
Okay. I actually almost said it, and I was like, Kristi, shut up. She just said,
I know.
just listen. I almost said motivation. That's me. I talk too much. So, okay.
You really want to bring her on a trivia night.
Right. What do you feel is the fastest way to lose a lead's trust?
To give them information that you don't actually know the full information behind. That's when we had an agent that just left our team, and it was a lot of answering questions without having the full information. If you don't know, just say, hey, I'll get that information for you. Or looking at the details of a property, it's like rushing to go sell a home without actually looking through the seller's disclosure, looking through everything, making sure it's even the right house for them. If they're putting an offer on a 1905 house, but they say they want to live close to downtown, in a nice home with a good view, and you're writing an offer on a 1905 house in the outside of town, like you're probably putting them under contract in the wrong home.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. What do you think is more important, consistency or creativity when it comes to your YouTube channel?
Definitely consistency. I'm not creative at all.
I don't believe that.
I am not creative at all.
Really? I
Yeah.
feel like every time you make me laugh all the time. So maybe your comedic value is what I find creative.
I'm making an illusion by making you laugh. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you guys, being here and breaking down, some of the pieces to converting online leads and just having more confidence. And it sounds like you better just pick up the phone until it no longer is painful. And then you'll kind of have that breakthrough. So if people want to find you, send you a referral, where's the best place for them to connect with you guys?
Usually the best place is on Instagram, at the real Jeremy Knight, at the real Eileen Knight, one of those two. Although she probably doesn't look at her messages. I do. So
That's fair.
So if you want to talk to Eileen, say, hey, Jeremy,
okay.
show this to Eileen.
Yeah. Say, hey, Jeremy, can I talk to Eileen? Yeah.
Exactly.
Is Eileen home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can Eileen play?
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. It was a really pleasure having you on here today. So just for the listeners in the room, the short takeaways that just make sure you remember is success comes from repetition. So whether that's consistency on YouTube or it's picking up the phone, it's practicing your objection handlers, that's where success comes from. There's no magic button. And confidence comes from preparation. Confidence on the phone, talking to the leads, knowing the answer, or at least knowing to say, I want to give you the full answer. Give me a moment to do some digging. And also in front of the camera, you don't have to be perfect, but you don't have to wing it either. And trust comes from showing up when others don't. So the theme definitely is consistency. And we're super thankful for Eileen and Jeremy for coming on today. So everything that they shared, go take it and run with it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.